It happened, Penguins fans. The Pittsburgh Penguins won a hockey game. And look, just to summarize everything in just one sentence, this was hands down the best game the Pittsburgh Penguins have played so far on this very young season. Game 3 against the Washington Capitals. They pull out the win 4-3 in the shootout. If somebody had asked me, hey, you think this one's going to go to a shootout today? I would have said, heck no. So let's rewind. Let's start at the beginning. Let's try to break some things down. I remember thinking to myself going into this game, the Pittsburgh Penguins need a better start. Starts haven't been so well. Sometimes 2-3 shifts to start a game are okay, but from there the wheels kind of fall off. Pittsburgh came out with a purpose that very first shift, and what happens? Evan Rodriguez scores 19 seconds into the game from Dumoulin and Gensel, and I thought, okay, that's exactly the type of start the Pittsburgh Penguins needed. They needed to start the game early with a lead. Imagine that, a lead. But yeah, it lasted for, over half the period. Nick Dowd scored a 12:04 unassisted goal, and we had a tie game. And then about 2 minutes after that, a little over 2 minutes, Alexander Ovechkin scores. And it's so funny because about 2 to 3 minutes before Ovechkin scores, we were reminded that Ovechkin doesn't have a goal yet this season. And I said, okay, yeah, they jinxed it. Just give him a goal now because it's going to happen. He always does well against Pittsburgh. And sure enough, he scores a goal. Well, I mean, there's a part of me that hates it, yes. But at the same time, I'm happy because you're going to continue to see Ovechkin rise. Mike Gardner's next on the radar for legends for him to pass in the all-time goal-scoring department. That was from Kuznetsov and Wilson. Wilson had a very strong game today for the Capitals. He always does. If Tom Wilson can just keep away from dirty hits and that type of stuff and just play physical like he's more than capable of, Tom Wilson is a very, very effective player for the Washington Capitals. He creates space, and he was very noticeable in this one, and he was simply all over the ice, just being physical with anybody wearing a Pittsburgh jersey that came into close proximity of him. So then all of a sudden, Pittsburgh's trailing again. It's 2-1, and already, I put out a tweet last night. I said, is it just me, or does every fan base, upon every loss that happens with their team, they want to fire the GM, fire the coach, they want to start a rebuild, just go crazy? And because this game was 2-1 at the end of the first, instantly I started seeing the tweets from Pens fans for basically calling for all of that stuff. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's only been 20 minutes. Let's calm down here. We still got a lot of hockey to play. And then Colton Seaver scores from Bluger, and it's a 2-2 game. But my issue with this is, this was one heck of a review. And I mean, with the camera angle they had, it honestly looked like it hit the crossbar, and then it came down and hit the ice outside the goal line, to the point where I said, okay, that's no goal. But they didn't have the proper overhead view of that goal because the camera wasn't working. And then I say to myself, man, this stuff needs to be triple, quadruple checked before every game. You need to be able to have all these angles, especially if you're the officials and you need to review something. You can't have a broken camera, a camera not functioning. That is just unacceptable. But what I want to get at is the review process is still taking way too long. I wish I had a stopwatch and I could have started it just to see how long it actually take for them to make the decision on whether or not it was a good goal. And then over in the corner along the boards, there's a camera inserted there. We get that view, and then it looked like the puck actually hit the padding inside the net and not the crossbar. It was amazing. From both views, one view you look at it and say, well, that's no goal. The next view you look at it, you say, yeah, I think that was a goal. But still, need that overhead view for 100%, and I think that's why it took the officials so long to make a decision. But I hate the fact it takes so long. It's the same thing with reviews, with coaches' challenges and stuff too. I just really wish there was a way that they could speed it up a lot faster. Plus, when you have the two officials over by the timekeeper's area, and they're basically just looking at a tablet, I mean, it looks so pathetic that they're making a decision just off of a little tablet. I think my kids have bigger tablets than what they're using. I wish they could just quickly skate off ice towards the Zamboni area and actually have some sort of quiet room and instantly have every single camera angle possible on big 55-inch TVs and just look at it right there. Have a camera in there so you can see the officials looking at every single view. It just seems so odd. They skate over to timekeeper's area and they're looking at a tablet of all things. It just it takes too long, way too long. They got to speed that up. And then Nicholas Backstrom scores about 8 minutes later from Kuznetsov and Ovechkin. Ovechkin picking up his third assist, also, of course, his first goal on the season. So he's got 4 points on the year so far. That was a power play goal for the Washington Capitals. And then Marcus Pettersson with an absolute laser beam about 3 minutes later, roughly, from Zucker and Rust. And those were the first even strength points for the second line of the Pittsburgh Penguins. I really wanted Malkin to score in this one. I've been kind of hard on him over the first 2 games simply because Malkin just hasn't been Malkin through those first 2 games. Although, for me, Malkin looked a lot better here today in Game 3 than he did in Games 1 and 2, which is a good thing. So that means we're kind of trending in the right direction here. And I just hope that he starts to come out of that slump because they need that second line going if Pittsburgh plans on winning some more hockey games and potentially, getting into the zone for making the playoffs. They have to get that second line going. And that's why I said, Brandon Tanev's just an absolute force every game, laying the body and just pouncing on everything. He should have been elevated to the second line. I dropped Russ down, just something to try to reinvigorate Malkin, even if you double shift him with Crosby, just something. Now, my other beef with this game was the Penguins' power play. At times it looked semi-okay, but for majority of the time, the power play was quite abysmal once again for Pittsburgh. They're getting zone time, yes, but they're not getting any opportunities to really and truly shoot the puck on goal. And my biggest issue is, okay, you have Jake Guentzel out on the top power play unit. That's fantastic. Jake Guentzel is a goal scorer through and through. But when you put Jake Guentzel in front of the goaltender, you're basically eliminating Jake Guentzel from your power play. He needs to be off to the side so he can, get it, shoot the puck. He's a shooter. He's a goal scorer. He's a 40-goal scorer. They're not utilizing Guentzel to his true potential. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Brian Rust. I'm one of the biggest Rust fans there are. Personally, though, I would take him off the top power play unit and I insert Tanev on that top unit, and I would park Tanev in front of their goaltender. Tanev's bigger, he's more physical, and at the same time, he's got some Hornquist in him. How I miss Patrick Hornquist. And Hornquist, like a Tanev, they enjoy that. They enjoy the physicality. They enjoy that type of challenge. Put Tanev in front of the net because on the power play, they're just not having enough net presence. That is not Jake Guentzel's bread and butter. He needs to be able to shoot the puck and score goals. He's not the type of player who's going to constantly pick up garbage goals, although he has throughout his career. Don't get me wrong there. But if you're going to use him to his true strengths, get him out from in front of the net, have him off on either side so he can shoot the puck. It absolutely needs to happen. Having Tanev out on that second power play unit who's not doing too much, to me is just the wrong effect. They need that net presence. It has to happen moving forward. So Ceci and Matheson were out for this game. Who predicted that when they signed Ceci and Matheson, which I was highly against, that by game 3, both of them would already be out of the lineup? Well, I know I sent some tweets out after the signings and I said, I wouldn't be surprised if so many games into the season that both of these guys are out of the lineup simply because defensively, they have not been good. They definitely have not. And since becoming Pittsburgh Penguins, they've been a hindrance to the blue line. And you can go back through games 1 and 2 and pick out goals from both games that were a direct result from something Ceci or Matheson did or mistakes they made defensively in their own zone. Here we are at game 3 and those 2 offseason acquisitions are out of the lineup. And man, Chad Ruhwedel needs to stay. I seen him multiple times in this game today, jumping up into the play offensively. He looked very, very solid today. I absolutely adore Ruhwedel, and at this point, much like a Juuso Riikola, he's earned his shot at being an NHL defenseman. They do not need Ceci or Matheson. You have those guys simply as a depth piece in case one of your top 6 falls to an injury. So if Ruhwedel or Riikola does knock on wood here, I would never want it to happen. If one of them does become injured, CC and Matheson could possibly slot in for a couple of games. But to be counting on CC and Matheson night in and night out, absolutely a huge mistake. Jim Rutherford made a huge mistake in signing both of them. I don't know what he was thinking. It's kind of like Jack Johnson, and now Jack Johnson was signed by the Rangers now. I just don't get it. It seems like now in the NHL, second chances for abysmal defensemen just keep rotating. I'm sorry, but to me, you look at today with Riikola and Ruhwedel in, the defensive issues were a lot lower than when CeCe and Matheson were in the lineup, or just Matheson from the last game. So that was a huge improvement. Malkin looked a lot better here today in Game 3. Yeah, he didn't get a point. Yeah, he didn't score a goal. But Malkin looked more engaged. He was driving along the boards. He was cycling. He was creating plays. The first two games, Malkin at times didn't even look interested at all, and to the point where he simply didn't want the puck on his stick. Anytime Malkin had puck possession, he just seemed to couldn't wait to get rid of it, looking for somebody. So that was a huge improvement. I hope that continues for Malkin, and if it does, well, the points will come and the offensive production will come. But to me, from what I saw of Malkin today, things are trending in the right direction, so that is fantastic. There are still defensive issues. You could look at 2 goals today that the Capitals got. Yeah, Pittsburgh do still have some defensive struggles. Hopefully that comes over the next few games. We got to remember they didn't have any preseason games. Yeah, they had, inter squad scrimmages and whatnot, but that's still not the same as an actual game, even though preseason you can't really compare to a regular season or a playoff game, but still you're playing against an opponent. So the tempo is that much higher, and the stakes are that much more because you have a lot of guys competing for a spot in the lineup. Yes, defensive issues are still there. They looked a lot better here today. I'm sure over the next couple of games, they'll start to tighten that up. Something else I wanted to add to the game notes, and I didn't, but now I'm thinking about it more, and I should have. I find the defensemen are reluctant to shoot the puck at times. There were 1-2 instances where Brian Dumoulin had a clear lane to the net, and I thought to myself, okay, you need to take that shot, Dumoulin, but instead, he's trying to pass down the wall and stuff. They need more shots from the point. You can get a rebound, you can get a deflection. I'd just like to see more shots from the point. Letang was trying to wrist in there a few times. Now, I'm not talking one-timers from the point, because a lot of times if you're on the right angle, you miss the net, boom, it's leaving the zone. Just wrist it in, try to get a deflection, try to get a rebound, clang and bang, baby. I just want to see more offense being generated from the blue line, and by that, more shots from the point, especially on the power play. I find at times the defenseman very reluctant to shoot. I hope that changes. Second line still needs to find their game. The first points were awarded 5-on-5 to that second line today. And I mean, you look at that second line with Rust and of course Zucker and Malkin. I mean, this is a line that has the potential to explode. It hasn't happened yet. They need to try to just generate more, although the line did look a lot better today. And like I mentioned before, hopefully that's a sign they're trending in the right direction. So shootouts, man, Sidney Crosby on shootouts. Like, I'm sorry, Sullivan, but no offense. I don't think I'd use Crosby in the shootout even more, even though, he's a big deal, definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer upon retirement. But man, Sidney Crosby on shootouts, I don't know if he overthinks it or what it is, but he's not very solid. This is an opportunity where I would award your hardest working players, or players that are playing, the biggest role right now for your team. And I would have loved to have seen Tanev out there with the top 3 shooters. Malkin, Letang, Crosby. Yeah, they got big name value. They definitely have offensive abilities, but on the shootout, I don't know if these guys are overthinking it or what it is, but statistically, they're not the greatest right now. And I would have went in a totally different direction. I would have given a shot to Tanev. I would have given a shot to Ruhwedel, simply because I thought he had a great game, jumping up offensively and pinching at the right times most of the time. And I would probably have given the third to maybe even Zucker, try to get him going. I'd maybe give an opportunity to Russ. I would have completely changed up your first 3 shooters, because at this point, anybody who reaches the shootout against Pittsburgh, they instantly know it's going to be Letang, it's going to be Crosby, and it's going to be Malkin. But if you were to throw a monkey wrench into it and bring out your 3 shooters as players that they would have never ever thought, well, they're not going to have so much video footage of what these guys might or might not do on a shootout opportunity. But that's just me. I would have changed it up personally. But my goodness, Pittsburgh needed this win today in such a bad way. I mean, if they had dropped another one and went 0-3, you got to start to think confidence could be an issue here moving forward. This is absolutely fantastic. I thought DeSmith had a great game, although defensively, still some issues there. I don't blame 3 goals entirely on Casey DeSmith, definitely not. But this is something now that they can utilize more than last game. Last game there were some positives they could take out of it, but I mean, when you get a win, talk about a way to start to spin the wheels in a positive direction moving forward. And just think, they go back at it again Tuesday, Washington and Pittsburgh. Personally, I am loving this new setup. I'm a bit sad it's only 56 games, but at the same time, I'm loving this new setup with just total interdivision rivalries, and the fact that these teams are playing each other so much, and often and not playing each other in back-to-back scenarios, but not back-to-back day by day, but the 2 games in a row they're playing each other. I absolutely think it's fantastic, and it just keeps things very, very heated. Now, for Washington, I don't think they had their best game today. And I want this to be known. I absolutely despise afternoon games. It throws my whole schedule out of whack. And I'm trying to concentrate on the game and take mental notes. And, I got my kids asking questions or wanting to play their Xbox Series X and all kinds of different things. And it's tough. Whereas if the game's on at nighttime, well, chances are I can sit down quietly and really, really zone in on the game. But yeah, I hate afternoon games. And statistically, this is a huge deal for Pittsburgh, because usually afternoon games, they don't bring their best foot forward. But today, yeah, definitely showed a lot of improvement. That's fantastic. Let's hope it's something they can carry going into the next one against Washington on Tuesday, although on Tuesday I expect an entirely different Washington Capitals team. They didn't have a lot of insane drive today, and at times Pittsburgh really had them hemmed in their own zone. I think Washington is going to be a lot better in the next one, and I hope Pittsburgh matches it 100%. So what are your guys' thoughts on Pittsburgh finally getting their first win on the season? Let me know below. And of course, as always, you can give me a follow on Twitter at JustinMan87. Make sure to subscribe. Join the team here if you're a Penguins fan like me. Cheers all.